Welcome to my program, Bashy's Corner. In our programs, we discuss societal issues, integration, culture, interculturalism, and any other issue which ethnic minorities are facing in Denmark. The reason we make this program in English is that there are many people who don't understand Danish, or maybe their acquaintances with the Danish society is very limited. But the issues we take are the ones which mainstream media doesn't want, doesn't care, or is afraid to take. But those issues, we are very happy to take those issues. As you know, Denmark received many ethnic minorities in 60s and 70s. Most were unskilled, some were semi-skilled, but along with them came also some very educated people and decided to stay here. Our guest today came to Denmark in 1972 and of course stayed. Her story is of a very cosmopolitan individual. Interestingly, this interview is being conducted on the day when her homeland, our original homeland, is going to elect a new president, whether it will be Mrs. Clinton or Mr. Donald Trump. Americans are deciding there, but there are a lot of Americans, expats, who live in Denmark. And my guest today is April Young, a very dear friend for many years, but it's the first time I succeeded in getting you here. Welcome to Bashy's Corner, April. And thank you for sparing some time today, especially when USA is going to decide very important issue, who will be the president. Let me start by asking, have you voted in the present election in USA?
Well, unfortunately, I cannot vote because at the time I came to Denmark, you couldn't have double citizenship. So I had to give up my American citizenship. Okay. But now they've changed the law, so I'm about to get in the process of trying to apply for dual citizenship. Okay. So I'm not allowed to vote. No. It's very strange.
Uh-huh. You would have liked to vote?
Of course. Uh-huh. I vote in all the Danish elections.
Yes,
everyone.
Of course. But, I mean, without being supporting one or the other, if you would have possibility to vote, who would you vote?
There's only one person you can vote for, and that's the most qualified, and I would say one of the most qualified people on this planet, and that's Hillary Clinton. And I've believed in that for many years. In fact, I supported Hillary Clinton instead of Obama until Obama got the nomination. And I still wish my dream had come true because she would maybe have had more energy 10 years ago, and he would maybe have been more sophisticated or actually cutthroat. That's actually what I mean.
Yeah, he's very laid back sometimes.
He's not. He's a constitutional lawyer. He knows the Constitution and really does believe in what the founding fathers put together. But that's not the way Washington works. You have to be able to play what's called dirty pool. You have to have contacts. You have to pull strings. And I know that Hillary can do that.
Yeah. Oh well. I mean, that's where she come from a background with her husband was
well, she's been a
senator, and
she's been a governor's wife. She's done, she knows.
She has all qualifications.
Absolutely.
But then the question comes, I mean, as an Afro-American Danish, why this man, Donald Trump, got so much backing at the moment, What happened to America?
It's really interesting. And right now, because I'm so tired, I saw an interview with Christian Amanpour about 6 weeks ago. Okay. And a Nobel Prize winning economist was being interviewed. And she asked him the same question, more or less. And it was so interesting because he said, if people really look at their pocketbooks, if they look at their incomes, if they look at the economic possibilities that they have, the middle class in general, it has all improved during Obama's period.
Yes.
But the thing that has changed is that globalization, in the sense that, and I'm not thinking about just jobs moving, I'm thinking of the fact that America ethnically is changed, like Europe is changing, but the United States is just even more. 16. When I grew up, I represented the largest ethnic minority. My name, which is of Scottish background, was name number 11. Now my name is name number 29. The name that is in front of mine is Gonzalez.
Okay.
So, and that's just an idea of the type of people, or like the biggest ethnic minority now are people of Latin American or
from
Hispanic background.
Yeah,
because they could be Mexican, they could be from wherever.
Yeah.
So the fact that, I like to say, the fact that so many Americans look like my children, or your children.
Mix, yeah.
Or your children. That is really, and that's what Paul, I can't remember his name, said, that American isn't like what they thought it should be, as white as it should be. And it scares people. Just like
which people? Because
a lot of these white people. I mean, people of Scandinavian, Central European,
Poland,
Central European and I mean, it doesn't scare me. I love it.
No.
But the fact that it is it really is the melting pot.
But there's an argument that white middle class or working class, they are feeling a pinch.
Some are feeling a pinch, but this is just general for all factory workers, people in the manufacturing.
The jobs have gone.
Yeah, the jobs have gone. But the thing is, the jobs have also gone in Germany. They also have gone in Denmark. Why wasn't the backlash? One of the reasons you don't have the backlash here is that the government has been very good at retraining, supporting training of people. So because when you lose the factory jobs, you have to do something else. For example, there's so many. You have a welfare state here, which is actually carried by women. Women who work as I do, as a skilled nurse, a social sundhedsassistent. Women who take care of children, who work in.
And it's not available in America?
No. You do not have a welfare. You pay for everything. You don't have a welfare state like that. Okay. But it's the fact that people who would have worked in factories now have gotten other training and have moved into different fields. Okay. That hasn't happened to the same extent in the United States. You do have a service sector, which is huge, but service sector that will let you, slog your guts out. Lots of people have 2 and 3 jobs. This is very unusual for Europeans, but Americans work.
Okay. We can discuss that politics a little later, but to start with, why did you come to Denmark?
I came to Denmark on an exchange program, and I should only be here for 13 months.
Oh.
And then I don't know. It was an incredible experience, and I love Copenhagen, as I still do. I absolutely, even though it's changed, it's much dirtier, etc., etc. It's much more violent.
But still very.
But I love it. I love it, and I live in the center of Copenhagen. So I fell in love with Copenhagen. I thought it was. They had a new university here called Roskilde Universitet. Yes. So I was one of the not the first year, but the second year. I was actually the youngest person in RUC at one point.
Wow. I can remember at that time, actually in 70s, in late 60s, 70s, there was also many Afro-Americans who came here, jazz ballet dancers, there was artists, there was some, they called them draft dodgers who didn't want to fight in the Vietnam War.
Absolutely.
But many of them went back.
Yeah.
And today there are very few. So why didn't you go back after?
Yeah, why didn't I go back? It seems strange, but I think some of it is the fact that there was no internet, which sounds very crazy, but it does mean at that time, the way you kept your network, you called, which I didn't have money for, or you wrote, which I didn't always do.
It took a long time.
Yeah, you didn't do those things. And so after about 5 years, I had lost a lot of my network, had built a stronger network here, and I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, I'm the type of person that doesn't look back.
Oh, so you don't have any plan to go back?
If I had a lot of money.
Oh, okay.
Lots of money. Yeah. I mean, I would need to have the, $150,000 a year because I have to pay for my health care. There's so many things you have to pay for you can't take for granted.
That's true.
But
did you finish your studies?
I finished studies. I have lots of studies here.
Okay.
I have a, kandidatuddannelse in
that's
in
what
media.
I wanted to ask you because when I look at your education and your CV, it's a long CV, very impressive. You started also as an immigrant teacher, teaching them. And then you studied psychology studies in Zale College, African Studies from Copenhagen University, and finally majored in commerce from Roskilde University.
Yeah, no, communication.
Communication.
Not commerce.
No, communication, sorry. Did you ever work in those fields?
All of them.
All of them?
And more.
Okay, but you didn't stick in one and just...
Well, I'm an old lady, so I've worked for more than 40 years. So I did stick, but I mean, I've had a lot of different jobs. But I worked in the immigrant movement, the Refugee Council. I worked for almost 8 years or 10 years. I worked both as a teacher, but I did also work as a consultant and launched their, they had some internal film project for young refugees. So I've actually done film on the Danish tax system, on the education system, which was done in different versions, in Farsi, in Turkish, in Arabic, in the English and Vietnamese.
The reason why I ask you, April, this question is because you have very high education. And then in the end, in your late 50s, now you had to study what you call social and health assistant education.
Yeah, which is practical nurse or skilled nurse. Yeah.
Yes, but isn't this a bit downturn?
Well, I mean, it depends. You see, I'm from a culture where you take pride in what you do.
Yes.
You take pride in so I mean, if you wash a floor, you wash it well. If you cook a meal, you cook it well. If you do a paper, you do it well. I can do all those things. The key is to strive for excellence. In the 50s, not 50s, I'm sorry, after 2008, even the federal, the state national system, employment system also broke down. I worked in Beskæftigelsesministeriet.
Yes.
And after 2008, they started to cut back. So a lot of us, statsansatte, were fired. And I was old. You see, I was over 50 at that point. I'm expensive. So it was going to be hard for me. I could have gotten another job probably, but it would have probably been working at the job office, employment office, and I just didn't want to. I didn't want to teach people how to do CVs. I didn't want to teach people how to find jobs. I've done all that, and it bored me.
But we often hear that the lack of Danish language and skills are one of the reasons why people don't have jobs. This is an excuse, and this is a hindrance. But I cannot see any hindrance.
No, I have
education, language. You speak many languages, and that is why did all these things. Didn't it? You should have had a career, spanning.
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, I found out that I really didn't want to be a consultant anymore, anyway.
So it was a choice.
It was a choice. I mean, I could have continued and tried, and I just said, "Oh, forget it." And I was. Even though I was a consultant and have worked as an academic, I've also been a single mother. Of twins, and I had a dog. Right. And when the bills have to be paid. So even as an academic, I had second jobs. I even cleaned. I did things. I could go to a conference in the morning, and in the evening, be washing floors at Børsen, and I've done that. Seriously.
No, I believe you.
Seriously.
But you have been teaching. But you have been teaching Danish language to immigrants for 10 years. But why don't we now? We get a lot of asylum seekers. Why can't you teach them?
I don't want you can.
You don't want to teach.
I don't want to teach anybody anything anymore. No. I just don't want to teach.
Okay, doesn't matter.
So, no,
you were stationed in Sierra Leone for a while. What did you do there?
Well, you see, I was actually stationed. I was sent by the Danish state to work as a consultant from the Danish state to work for ILO, the International Labour Organization or Office. Yes. And I worked with a program that built wells and roads on a very, very low cost basis in Sierra Leone, which was a lot of times a lot of Africans were very angry that we didn't use big machines and but the problem is if you have problems with your energy, if you don't have spare parts, you're in trouble. So rather do as the Chinese did, just pick up a shovel and dig. And it's very hard work, but you can maintain things without heavy machinery. And that's what we did. And I mean, I was responsible for an area that was larger than Jutland.
Wow. Did they accept you as a...
In the UN?
No, not in the UN, but in Sierra Leone, no?
Oh, yeah.
The African sisters and brothers.
Oh, yeah. I was Mrs. Young.
Yes.
They used to stand there, well, Mrs. Young is coming. I was better than Madonna.
You felt good.
Oh, yes. I mean, Africa. I love living in Africa. I love it.
Coming back to the United States presidential election, because this is today, you know. Yeah. Media also invited you many times to comment on American political situation. Did they ask you also this time?
No, but they'll probably call me tomorrow.
Okay, after Mrs. Clinton becomes president.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they've been. It's actually strange they did because I was on for something else in the summer. They said, "Oh, we'll be back by November," and but that's okay.
Okay, no problem.
That's okay. I don't. You know what I get? People ask. They think I've gotten rich. I get a taxi and a glass of water.
No,
that's all right. I don't need.
No. Do you think that there are many expats from America who live here? You know, and Americans love Denmark because it's one of the most Danish, American-friendly country in Europe.
Well, some do.
Well, yeah.
Some do.
Do you think that it will have an effect? Who gets president?
Oh my God!
Yeah.
This is we're talking about the. I hate to say, I feel like this is the end of the world. If Donald Trump, I mean, that's a madman.
Yeah.
He cannot become president. He cannot have the codes to the nuclear warfare. He would. I mean, this man will maybe. Who knows if he'll try and start a war with North Korea? Who knows?
He's unpredictable.
He's absolutely unpredictable. It's funny because you'll often talk about women being hormonal. I don't know what he is.
He talks a lot about that.
Oh my! But he's the most hormonal man I've ever seen. Yeah.
In many European countries, and especially big cities, they are both Republican and Democratic parties have their, some sympathizers. Do they also have in Denmark?
There is something. Yes, there is. There is something called Republicans abroad, and there's something called Democrats abroad. And I'm not a member of anything.
No, but they have been active here also.
Yeah, they have. Oh yeah. And they'll be
Okay.
Very active.
I have been watching for the last many months, but especially the few weeks, CNN, BBC, and also TV2.
Yeah.
To many Danes, it is way too much. Do you agree to that? Because it has been
it
covered day and night, same things and same things.
Yeah, well, but that's what you do. That's presidential. That's the way they do it.
But it's an American election,
Yeah, but it's going to mean a lot for the. My suggestion is just turn it off. I mean, really, there are other channels.
Yeah.
No, I mean...
How many channels we have? We have DR, DR2.
No,
and then we have TV2.
50
I know,
channels.
but okay.
I mean,
okay, you have lived here 4 decades now, almost, right? Is there any difference between the past when you came and today when it comes to minorities, Afro-American, black minorities? Do you see any difference in attitude?
Oh, of course. I mean, what I think is, and it's very frightening, is this Muslim, this fear of Muslim. oh, the Muslims are going to eat us and they're going to do, you know, all sorts of terrible things. And then this idea of, and this awful, what is that thing they call? They have nudansker.
Yeah.
Oh,
this stupid term.
Yeah, it just gives me the creeps. Yeah. And I don't know, we might not be in agreement on this, but this term, this integration thing, I have such difficulty with that term. I
dislike that term.
Well, and it's very hard for me to understand because I'm from a culture, or I have a history where integration wasn't, but integration meant that we had a legal, black people or brown people had a legal right to go to school or to get a job or to live in particular areas. That was, you know, but now it's, unfortunately, I think it is, in European terms, to be like us or to be normalized.
But April, when you and me walk in a street, doesn't matter how many university degrees you have, doesn't matter how many people look at you as a black person and look at me as a black person. So all this integration, I would rather have participation where people have possibilities to have same rights, same responsibilities,
or for example,
same opportunities. Absolutely.
And when someone says to me that, but you're a Dane, and I'll say, no, I'm not. Or like they'll say, but you're like us, I'll say, no, I'm not. Because, I mean, I think a good, a kind, a vibrant, an energetic, politically aware, and intelligent person. And I have my own cultural baggage. And it's not the same as yours, and it's all right.
It should be all right.
Well, I think it's all right, but everyone wants to, you know, for me to be good enough, I have to be Danish. And I said, well, and in fact, I also get perturbed when people say, oh, your Danish is so good. And I try and say, well, don't you think there's anything else I can do that's good? I mean,
so does it mean that the color, culture, religion, and accent matters when people are looking for a job?
Of course it does. Of course,
it should in a democratic society.
Oh no, and your name means something too.
Because you work with labor market for many years.
Oh yeah, it means incredible. Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. And I've interviewed people who were of ethnic minority people who were highly they had played the game. They had never gone to jail. They had good. Had good degrees. They had, you know, and they couldn't find jobs. Or people actually said, well, you need to change your name, and some have. I don't like that practice.
But changing name, April, when you come for an interview, people can see at you.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
So then the next question is that would the situation get better or it would get worse?
Here?
Yeah. You have lived here for many years.
Yeah, but I think it's getting worse. How can I put, for example, something that happened recently that really shocked me, actually put me...
Tell me.
Well, I live on Frederiksberg.
Yes.
And I've lived in a very exclusive part of Frederiksberg, and blah, blah, blah. And I've gotten comments from people I thought were my friends about my choice of living. Yes. Oh, yes. Someone we all know, and I won't say who it is, actually questioned me on my ability to live in the the condo that I had. He said, well, because he'd known the former owners, and he said, well, you can't afford that. And I thought, I'm living there. No, I mean, when I did sell that condo, my husband and I, and then we wanted we downsized, wanted a rental, fine, and all I wanted was Frederiksberg and an elevator. Because it's important, you know, I know older people sometimes get trapped. They can't
it must make you sad.
No, but the thing was, I was in the laundry room.
Oh.
In my yeah. And, you know, I'm smiling and I have casual clothes on. And one of my neighbors asked me, who are you washing for? And I was absolutely...
They thought that you were a servant?
Yeah, they thought I was maybe some hjemmehjælp or somebody. But they didn't realize that, one, I lived there. And not only did I live there, I live in the largest, the most expensive flat in the building.
Didn't they ask you, where did you get the money?
Well, no, they could have, but it was just. But now, now I'm in the.
It's a sad.
But it was, it was such a big, and you see, I live in a so-called JIF apartment, right? Yeah. They're all economists and blah, 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 blah. But they could say something like that. They could ask me who I worked for.
In your present job,
yeah,
you work with elderly people.
Yeah.
Who are undergoing intensive rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm.
Or they call functional uplift, Mm-hmm. Are there also elderly ethnic minorities among them?
There are, and they have a rough time because usually they don't have the language.
Yes.
And that's the problem. And then of course there's this thing about food, because it's not a question of eating pork or not. It's just the fact that they eat so much cold food.
Oh, that's true.
They always want, everyone, and I eat warm. I mean, my lunch is always warm. I don't.
Okay.
but that's a problem. Yeah. But I must. But the thing that's interesting is that more and more the health system is so globalized. We're all there, brown, white.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, it is from on all levels.
Many of my friends who they also. Last but not least. Do you think that the future of non-European minorities is safe in Denmark now?
How do you mean safe?
Safe means that they can be equal citizens.
This will take a long, long time, especially because the seed of fear of Islam. It is so, you know what, it makes me understand now why so many Europeans fled to the United States for religious freedom, because this is not, in a religious sense, it's not a free society. I think all of you is not really free, and it shocks me. It shocks me. Well, a Dane can also shock me when they say we're Christians, and I say I'm Catholic. He said, but we're Christians, and then I have to do my little lecture on the. No, I have to do a lecture on what Christianity means, and that we're all Christians and types, No, but I mean, and I just think it's ignorance, but that ignorance we could probably deal with. But then there's this fear and this stigmatizing that I think is really, it's frightening. It's really frightening.
April, it was wonderful to have you after all for many years. And to my seers, I'm very sure that what April said, you will just think about that, coming from a very cosmopolitan Afro-American lady from USA living in Denmark. And I hope, and as April said, we hope that the situation will get better. Until next time, take good care of yourself.